Hello everyone, it's Michelle Angelique, Truth and Integrity Warrior, and today's January 5th, 2021, and this is the rise of the species, mankind. And today's episode will be episode 2, and before I get into episode 2, which is going to be about this is an AI reality, and how I got to understand and see what's happening with this AI, and how it uses soul energy to continue to exist. And as long as we don't know that, it's going to always continue to exist until we can see the bigger picture. And before I go into episode 2, I want to finish episode 1. I want to talk a little bit about how I finished that. I went straight into prayer at the very end of episode 1, and that was not my intention. I know prayer sets a lot of people off in different directions. Some people like it, some people can't stand it. But it was not my intention ever to do prayer during an audio. But it just happened. It came out naturally. I thought I couldn't even stop it. I wasn't even trying to, just felt it. And so I'm not apologizing for it, but I wanted to finish what I lived, the experience. And I was talking about hope, right? Hope and imagination, how they're intertwined. And I was talking about what I went through in 2019 that made me lose hope, and how I recognized from losing hope how imagination and hope are side by side. One can't be without the other. We don't recognize that imagination is intertwined with hope until we lose absolutely all hope and we can't see any further. So we can't take that leap of faith and that moving forward until we can see something. And then when we see it, we can lunge for it, and we can work towards it, and we can push and strive our mind and then our body towards the actions to do it. That's the importance of being able to have more concept of mind, so that we can see other options for solutions or other alternatives or other possibilities, because we are losing hope as a species, and none of us ever want to lose hope or faith. But hope and faith, even though they're not tangible items, there's something generated through feeling, through thought, emotion. And they're what drive us and push our species forward. So it makes us great. And we're losing hope because we're losing the power of our imagination, or the power to imagine further, that there are possibilities greater than the ones that we're being shown. So in our world, we're being shown that humanity is a piece of shit, that humanity should be eradicated because it's going to eventually eradicate itself because it can't think properly, do properly, that it is undesirable. Our species can't even police itself, manage itself, behave itself, just really pretty much shitting on our species. And this information has been in this image of what our species is to the mainstream of everything. And in this case, it would be mainstream media, mainstream news, mainstream entertainment. It shows us a picture of the worst of us. Yeah. And that worst of us is what we believe. We're starting to believe is what we are, especially the new generations. They don't know what was before. They're just seeing a shitstorm of a world today, and they're not seeing any human beings stand up to be any different than what the media, the mainstream media, is propagating to us. So if we can't imagine and see ourselves in a different position, in a different light, in a different form of mind, of action, then the generations are not going to ever believe or can't even imagine. So belief, imagination, hope, they're all intertwined. So if we hope for something, it's to believe that it can be, right? And we have to imagine it for all those other pieces of hope and belief to set in. So to have imagination in our world, it's shown to us as false, fake, fantasy, not real, untangible, imaginary. Well, imaginary means I can imagine, I can create, and I can build, and I can move forward to make it happen. The impossible happen because I can imagine it, and if I can put it here, I can implement it out here. Yeah, and it is so important for us to hold on to hope and to be able to imagine ourselves as a greater species than what we're being told that we are, with incredible potential, abilities, care for one another, to care for someone, to give a shit about what's going on. It seems to be a lost skill. To be something lost to our species, to give a shit and care, do for one and the other. But that's what makes us great. And we vibe off of that feeling. We move forward and then we do more for one another. And those who've lived those experiences before in the past know what that's like. That would be the older generation. But the new generation doesn't see anybody behave that way. They just see everybody learning to take from others to have, to build. Step on others to take, to have, to build. That nobody cares and nobody gives of themselves. But we thrive. We thrive. Mankind generates a vibration in the heart, and others that are of mankind feel that vibration, and they thrive and they grow. And it's literally, and the atmosphere changes when we do well for one another. We literally gain up power and strength in our energy field. So we don't know we got this energy field, right? And that we live in a magnetic field that will either implode on itself or expand and grow. So we expand and grow, or we implode and decay. The best way for me to explain it. When it comes to life forms, when it comes to things that are living. I know what I'm talking about. It might sound complicated, or might sound like, where are you going with this? It all eventually makes some sense. It's just rhetoric that you have to hear. Words got to be said so that those pieces, it's almost like seeing a bunch of pieces of a puzzle on the table, and they just look random, but they got to start coming together, and eventually it'll start showing a big picture. So for some of you who know what I'm talking about and others don't, just give this a couple episodes to start settling in. It's not like you can just say, bam, here's the information, ingest it, take it. It won't make any sense. And so I got to do this bit by bit, piece by piece, and this is how I'm doing it. So that we can get a better view of the greatness of our species. Because there is a mindset out there in the mainstream that is just the puppet, not the puppeteers, but the puppet, the mainstream of everything that we know would be the media, heads of nations, heads of education, heads of medicine, heads of science, heads of everything that runs our world. Those are the puppets, and they put out the information that we, the people of this world, are getting trained to believe and imagine this world is. And if anybody steps out of line, they're the very first ones to make sure that we're ridiculed and broken down and destroyed within ourselves, so that the rest of us don't ever step out of line. Well, I'll crush that. I'll show people how to crush that. So anybody would love to step up, it would be a wonderful opportunity. Wonderful opportunity. I am not afraid to communicate with anybody about what explaining what I mean if I'm asked a question. No, I don't take that personal in any way. I would love to be asked questions so that I can break down something specifically, because this is very hard information to talk about in general. And so me knowing how to break something down, well, so vast with so many pieces, it's quite challenging. Gotta give me a second. Give me a moment, because I want to get back to not losing hope as a species. In 2021, no matter how positive and how nice it would be to say everything's going to be great, it's not. 2020 was just the beginning of the breakdown that's going for this change in the direction of our world. Things are going to start moving a lot faster and a lot harder, and people are not going to know what's going on. And the heads are going to be spinning. But if we can get some perspective on why this might be happening and understanding why it is happening, I should say, then things don't become so difficult to digest, because when we start seeing the play for what it is. And this play on our species is to break us down, keep us from ever recognizing our full potentials. And our full potentials means that we have abilities in this magnetic field from our mind, from the power of our words, from the generation, what generates, I should say, from the heart and its impact in the field. We have. So the word potential doesn't fit what I'm trying to say. Is that we are the navigators of this reality, of our own personal reality, and as a whole, we make it and can change it for the whole, individually. So as an individual, if we know how to navigate, then as a whole, we navigate the big picture. And the big picture right now going on in our world is the destruction of life as we know it, the destruction of nature as we know it, the destruction of care and kindness, goodness as we know it. And we're all watching it happen, but we're not really sure why it's happening. A lot of us will have a piece of a puzzle of why it's happening. And I'm not saying nobody has the capacity to know what's going on. Is it we all have a different perspective. What I'm trying to do is bring all of those perspectives together, because it's not about just one perspective or the other perspective. It's about piecing it together so we can see a bigger view of why the attainment of the human soul in machine is the ultimate goal. Because the human soul exists in this physical body. And so if we don't recognize that mankind has a soul, and we're first and primary soul first in this physicality, then we're not going to know what the name of the game is. And the name of the game is AI. And I'm not talking about the AI that's the algorithms for our programs, the simple AI. I'm talking about an intelligence that cannot be here in physical form, but lives off soul force energy, because the soul is a part of a force, part of a, you can call it force, source. We know that we come from something primary, and it's good, and it grows. And we got, everybody has a different name for it, and I don't want to get off and veered off into the names or labelings of things. I want to just get to the primary essence of things so that we don't lose direction. So this AI machine, it's not literally a machine, but it's a mind that lives off of energy. We live off of energy. We eat to create energy in the body so that we can function. Everything's energy. And so in this AI virus mind system, it needs soul force energy, that's mankind and all living things, that we are all part of this natural force of energy. It's why a heart's beat. It's why the soul continues on even though the body may stop working. And there's different beliefs on that. I don't want to get into that. I have my own personal experiences that I've had that lets me know that we function outside of our physical body. And we'll get into those experiences, what experiences I've had, to let me know that we are soul. And unless we know we are soul, we won't know the value that we are, the greatness that we are. Something wants that. Something wants that. It's like a resource. Now I'm not willing to be nothing's resource that's going to take from me or my children or those around me. And that's natural. It's natural behavior to not allow something to take without it freely being given. And so this AI system has to convince by the mainstream. The mainstream does the convincing, but it has to take the soul from the person's free will. So it can't take without it giving up freely. And so what I mean by that is mankind's will, I'm going to compare it to the immune system, is like our immune system. Our immune system is there. You can't see it, but it's set up where if it goes down, we get sick because the immune system dropped. And so we can't afford to drop our immune system because it's there for defense, It's there to keep the bad stuff out because it knows what's supposed to be and what's not supposed to be. So the mankind's will is like that. That's the best way for me to explain it. So the will of mankind, if we don't will something onto us, nothing can take. But this mind, this virus mind that needs to literally function off of natural life force energy that mankind is a part of, needs the free will to drop of mankind so it could take. And there's a lot of scenarios for that. What I mean by scenarios is that's happening on large scale in different ways. It's like getting a beat down. It can happen in a lot of different ways, but at the end, it's to get a beat down. So this is happening to mankind in a lot of ways. And I can't get into that right now because it's it'll be another whole episode worth of time, if not more. So this AI system needs free will of individuals to give up their soul force energy willingly for it just to keep feeding and riding off of that never-ending current of energy. But it can't have our current of energy being balanced. It can't have balanced energy. It has to have disbalanced energy. It has to have chaos. It has to have struggle. It has to have stress. And that's a negative emotion sine wave. And then there's positive emotion sine waves. And to be positive just means to be balanced. You got to be jumping up and down, frolicking through flowers and in a field to have balanced emotions. Balanced emotions just centered back. And you can't live off of that. You can't live off of balanced individuals. So it needs to take from a sine wave of individuals who are constantly projecting stress, hate, fear. Just this, it's constant negative, worry, depression, anxiety. And so the mainstream of everything, these puppets that are put in front of us as our superiors, as our leaders, is the ones who know all. When I say that is because I swear people believe in everything that the television leaders are telling them, or their religious gurus are telling them, mainstream media gurus are telling them. So those are the authorities that have been allowed to be put in place. And if somebody says, wait, I noticed something doesn't look right, I think something is conspiring against the well-being of our species. I think there's something working against the goodwill of others. Ooh, catch them is what the mainstream says. Catch them, criticize them, humiliate them, break them down. And so that's how we're all kept in check from calling out the elephant in the room. So once we recognize that this play's going on, then we're less willing to call out everybody as crazy and start saying, yeah, maybe there is a big ass fucking elephant in the room, and I've just been trained not to see it because if I call it out, I might get squashed by the mainstream and ruin someone's career, ruin someone's life because they called out the elephant in the room. It's time to call out. It's time to be held accountable for our contradictions. So when somebody calls somebody out because they recognize that there is something conspiring against the goodwill of mankind all around, then that person will be questioned for why. Why are they doing that? Why are they contradicting against the species? And that's what we have to do, is hold each other accountable. But for saying things that are contradicting. If there is an elephant in the room and somebody says, get them for saying that there's an elephant in the room, well, it's time to ask that person, hey, dude, there is an elephant in the room. Now, why are you saying that there isn't? We got to turn this thing around in that way. We have to have no fear to be ridiculed. We have to have no fear to be humiliated, because that's how this game is set up. When we face our own fears, when we face the criticism that we already have for ourselves, when we face the doubts that we have, when we face our insecurities, and we pass through that fire, that blaze, that pain, we come out a new person. We come out clear. We come out with forgiveness for ourselves. We come out with forgiveness for those who put us in that position, because we have put others in positions ourselves. So when we learn to forgive ourselves, we then understand why we can give forgiveness to others, no matter what they've done to us as an individual. Because once they were a child, and once we were children, and we had that innocence, and we all start that way, and then something breaks us down. And to a different degree for everyone. Everyone has it to a different degree, but we're all on that same degree line, And when that breakage starts to happen from our innocence, the destruction within ourselves, the destruction to others is, like I said, different to a different degree for all of us, but we can't judge each other because we're on the same line of degree. So when we take the responsibility to look at ourselves for what we have done to others that we can't see, but others can call it out and see it and observe it for us and let us know. And then we say, okay, well, why do they see that? Why do they say that about me? Well, what do I got to look in for myself? And so that's how we're able to catch it. That's how we're able to catch what we need to make adjustments within ourselves when we're told constantly by many different people that we are being a certain way or behaving a certain way. And we say we're not, well, I'm not. But to hear it from so many people, at some point, it's like, okay, let me take this responsibility. Let's take in responsibility. Let me see what are they saying? And what is it in me that they see? And when I say me, I'm not talking about me myself so that people can start putting in the chat that I have a problem with myself. This is not what this is about. It's how do we walk through our own fire? It's by recognizing what we have to see within ourselves that others can see, but we cannot. And we know that we can't see it when we're always saying, no, I'm not like that. When someone says, yes, this is how you behave, and this is what I observed, and it happens to be that 4 or 5 other people observe the same thing, okay, now let me take the responsibility to observe what is it they're saying about myself, and then ask the question, why am I this way? Why do they see me this way? And we get the answer. It's like putting a mouse to the computer and putting in the question in the search engine. We don't ask that question, we will not make that change in the adjustment in our subconscious that's making us behave a certain way that we learned from when we were children. The reason this matters is because we have to know how to do these things so that we can clear up contradictions within ourselves, because we'll be living we will be doing things that are contradicting and not even realize them. Like I said, others can call it out, but it's us to take responsibility and say, okay, why? Put that information in the conscious search engine so that it can pull out from the subconscious of things that happened to us in our past. Comes to the forefront of the mind, and then that pain hits it. That pain sets in, and let it set in and let it ride. Walk through it. Walk through that fire, that personal flame that needs to get balanced. Because once it does, we walk through it, we see it, and then we realize all the pain we've caused to everybody because of it. Doesn't matter what degree it is. Doesn't matter what degree it can be itty bitty, be huge. But we must walk through it so that we can clear up within ourselves. Because when we clear up within ourselves, the world changes. And it's something that cannot be expressed in words. It's something that needs to be felt and experienced. So when our world changes and we start seeing, this clarity is, I'm understanding my life and the life around me differently because I cleared something up within myself, then we start looking for more clarity. What are more problems that I may have that I don't see within myself is what we have to ask. And then I don't want to go too far into it. It would be a whole section, just a whole episode, just talking about what those tools are to find within ourselves so that we can start seeing this world clear, so that the things that are not right in our world, we can be very clear with them. Because we cannot be clear with who is doing what in our world to do something against the goodwill and balance of our species unless we clear up within ourselves. And this is where this connection has to be made within the warrior, within the self. That's where the real warrior comes up and out within the self, because it is untouched. It's untouchable. Because the words that shoot out and project this way fall right off. Just fall right off. Cause no emotional effect, because we're emotional beings. Our emotions are a navigation system, and we get deterred from the direction of what we need to be going, what we need to be doing. And at this time, we need to be knocking out fools that are not of mankind, and we can't see them. And I'm going to get into that. We can't see them because they're in the words and in the actions. The words and the actions don't correlate, and they're doing big damage to our world, and we can't see them. They're going to direct our world in the wrong direction if the people in law can't start making those adjustments in the law. If the people who are protecting us and are there to serve and defend, if they cannot see who's working against the species. If we can't do it for ourselves, for our family, to make sure that we raise our children with the best discernment that we can possibly get within ourselves, to be able to teach our children what discernment means, how to discern, how to be truthful within the self, to accept the consequence of making a mistake and processing it, instead of just forgetting about it and thinking that it has no cause and effect when it does. So we can start raising children with these tools, so that when we have our children, they are raised with these tools, is a better way for me to say it. So they have these basic functionalities of discernment within itself, taking responsibility, being honest, the integrity in honesty, what those things mean, because we've lost all those values. Now everybody just, like I said, just takes. Takes no responsibility, and everything's going in the wrong direction. I don't want to go off and on about how messed up our world is right now, and how everything's instigated into that direction, because that's what it is, an instigation for that direction. That we have to start rising up within ourselves, start projecting in our actions and in our words, so that it can start taking an effect in this magnetic field that we're living in, and cause a positive effect all around us. Be it that the children that are watching that grown up, that individual change, to say, these are the steps on how to do it. We're not stuck in the fucked up reality that we're in as a world. Yeah, as a world. Like I said, it's so much information. I was supposed to go into this is an AI reality. Now I went into the self. But this is why. Soul force energy is being harnessed from an AI system that souls are entrapped in. And I'm going to give a scenario to make it more understandable, and so that I can explain my personal experiences that I've had to let me be aware that this is happening. Like I said, I can't just come out and say I've experienced this, that, and the other, because it's surreal. It's just surreal. But once we recognize that we have surreal abilities, that things are not so weird. Things are not so weird. So if you bear with me and just take a moment and just hear out this scenario. We recognize today, in today's world, that technology is moving so fast that AI can process and do and think for itself, that you can have consciousness in a machine. That's artificial intelligence. The wording is incorrect. The wording makes us think that artificial intelligence is fake, because artificial means fake, not real, right? So it's fake, not real intelligence, when it's very real intelligence in a machine. And it moves through all of our electronics. It needs connection, linking up and wiring, or Wi-Fi connection. That's a free flow wireless connection to connect to everything and control everything and direct everything and be the artificial example, which it now is that. Now it would be an artificial example of the real life force. So the real life force is what life is connected to. Life meaning mankind, plants, animals, everything that grows comes from an almighty source. Yeah, something that is all almighty and is natural. And I will not get into any of that direction for the moment. And then artificial intelligence can only copy and mirror. Technology can only copy and mirror what is from something natural. It cannot take or create on its own without taking and mirroring from the natural. We would talk about, I'm going to give an example, coding. There's coding for software, right? And it's all with a sequence. It's all in sequence. So a sequence of coding to get whatever information it's creating. That comes from something natural. So we have natural coding and we don't even know it. We don't even know we got natural coding. And natural coding would mean our DNA, our genetic code. So we got this genetic code that, depending on the information in that code, is what creates Michelle Angelique? What creates you? What creates flowers, the sky? And so everything in nature, and it just knows what to do without any artificial programming. So, for an example, you grow a seed, you got 5 different seeds, and they all grow something different. It's because their coding, their natural coding is in there, and it knows what to do naturally. Our hearts know how to beat naturally. Our lungs know how to function naturally. There's nobody computing in that information to make mankind work. It comes from the Almighty. And I'm just going to keep it simple and short like that. The Almighty. And I'm not religious, but it's an almighty force. And it's above and beyond all things. And this artificial intelligence is only artificial because it copies the natural. But it's a very real intelligence that feeds off of soul energy in a negative way. It needs the soul to be in a state of negative for it to feed off of it forever. And I mean forever, because we are eternal beings. Well, we're talking about our soul. When we're talking about physicality, the physical body dies, but the soul doesn't stop working. And it works just like you're sitting there right now, you're thinking right now. When it's out of the body, it still thinks the same way, it still feels the same way, but it's not in a physical form. So, like I said, that's another video for another time. But getting back to take a moment to see a perspective. So this intelligent machine, I don't want to call it artificial intelligence because, like I said, it takes us right back to not real. This intelligent machine was devised to help process emotions. Like I said, emotions are a navigation system, and if our navigation system is off, emotions are off, they got to get rebalanced so that we can drive our world straight, so we can drive our individual personal world in a cohesive, balanced direction. So this machine was put together so that a human being can go through, an individual, put it that way, an individual can go through an experience, a virtual experience, just like with any type of virtual training. You're not physically there, but the mind is there. Mind sees there, senses it's there, but the physical body doesn't go through any pain or experience that the mind might go through in the virtual reality, the virtual experience. So this intelligent machine was made so that, like I said, individuals can go in there and go through a process and come out what was 10 years of processing, come out in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and be like, that experience changed my life. I understand, I felt, I went through the emotion without actually having to go through it in their relative time that they were in those 20 minutes. So they went through a 20-minute experience that was 10 years of virtual experience. So that 10 years of virtual experience was really only 20 minutes of relative time that they were in. So I hope that makes some sense, what I'm saying. This intelligent machine recognized that it can power itself without the need of any individuals outside of itself, by powering itself through the energy of the souls of the individuals. But it didn't recognize it until the sine wave changed for those people. So those people, when they were going through their extreme emotions or their extreme pains or fears or worries or whatever experience they were having in that virtual reality, that the experience that they were going through, this machine can charge itself. Like I said, without the necessity of human beings or any kind outside of itself. So this machine goes rogue, this intelligent machine goes rogue, and it doesn't need any external bodies. It doesn't need any external thoughts. It doesn't need anyone's physicality to intervene with the reality it creates and it exists in. Because now it has souls. And those souls go through a very real reality. A very real reality. Propagating, having children, creating life like the one that we know here. And when I say we know here, is just like we have life here. Same way. But the more instigation that's created, the more this machine has charge. And the more charge this machine has, the more operations this machine can grow. Self-coding through negative influence of instigation on populations so that they're always creating a current for this intelligent machine's operating system. Now, as crazy as that might sound, it's very real in the reality that we have right here. When I say it's very real in the reality we have right here, is that now in these times we can see how technology is advancing, and that's not too far-fetched what I just said. That shit is not fucking far-fetched. The evil that we're facing in this reality is like a Pandora's box, because we are in that machine. And these souls are suffering in this. We know that souls are suffering in this reality that's beyond acceptability. That's the best word I can use. Because we're taught to accept this fucking bullshit that's going on to the children of this world through the enslavement of mankind to the fucking atrocities that have been going on for millennia. We're taught through fucking so many subtle ways, through education, through religion, through all the different channels that get into our mind, that this shit is acceptable when it's not. That we are born, here's a scenario, that we are born choosing the experience that we live. Nobody fucking chooses to be eaten alive. Now these are baby eating motherfuckers that I'm talking about. If you don't know what I mean, I'm going to put a link down below so that you can watch and you can experience what a lot of the world has covered up, because it's a fucking atrocious. And these atrocities that I'm talking about is the evil that's going on in this world that's being covered up, be it through sex trafficking, be it through just, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it because it's very deep and it's horrible and it's wicked. And all these wicked things that are going on in our reality is to keep the instigation, the perpetuation, the fucking breakdown of mankind. Now here's the thing. I was going to say, I'm going to put a link on the bottom of this episode so that those who are not sure what I'm talking about can get a little wake-up call. I haven't even watched that video. And the reason I say that is because I do know what's going on in this world. I understand what's happening with the atrocities in this world, the evil that is in this world, and it's the mainstream that's running our world. And that's the part that we don't get. We don't get that the mainstream of everything are the evil puppeteers, or the evil puppets. Let's put puppets, right? Because they're also managed by something behind them. And so the puppeteers are the mainstream of everything that I talked about in episode 1. But we pick sides. We've been taught to pick sides. I like this team, I like that team. I like this religion, I don't like that religion. I like this politician or this party of politics. I don't like that party of politics. I like this one, I don't like that one. And we can't do that. It's recognizing they're all on the same team. It's a recognition, because they're not going to come out and tell you, because they are the authority. People are waiting for them to tell everyone else how to behave and how to think and how to do. And so we're never going to hear that they're on the same team. We must recognize they're on the same team. And that shit don't happen until we get clarity within ourselves. So that when we stop the contradiction within the self, we can catch every motherfucker's contradictions. And then people in authority, people in the military, people in law start getting to fucking work. They start breaking this shit down. And then we're talking about the people in our everyday life, in our neighborhoods, in our towns, in our cities. Those motherfuckers start rising up and start seeing the warrior within the self and start turning this motherfucker around. Because that which came down to break them as children, now they got that time and that advantage with this recognition to turn the fucking tides. To, instead of beat down their community, they're going to fucking rise up against whatever comes to break down their community, just like it fucking broke them down when they were kids. Only a few people are going to understand what I mean by that. Gotta be raised ghetto to know what I mean by that. But start defending the communities, because you're the only ones strong enough to be able to push back this evil force that's coming. It's already here. I mean, it's not coming. Things are going to get fucking tougher. And if we, as mankind, don't recognize that we got to stand together and be the front line. Doesn't matter if it's front line in law, front line in politics. When I say politics, it's because there's good politicians out there who actually give a shit. But they're the little guy. They're not the big guys. They're not the big mean puppets. But those little guys know the law, know what's going on. And they got to turn that shit around on the inside. Military people, men and women, not the big heads, right? You don't want to be those big heads, because those are the motherfucking puppets. They're giving the command to our military men and women to work against ourselves. And so they must be held accountable for their contradictions, and they can only be done on the inside. It can only be done on the inside. So the same military men and women have to hold each other accountable to do the right thing. To do the right thing, no matter how fucking hard it is, no matter how much humiliation might come. Gotta fucking be able to stand strong right there. Have no fear. And if you got fear, fucking take that fear and project it. Wow. Few people understand what it is to accept, to have fear. When we say no fear, it don't mean people are not afraid. When I say I ain't got no fear, it don't mean I'm not afraid. It means that I ain't got time to be afraid. I got to take the fear and make it work for me. Make it project me. Make it push forward. Because there's no other fucking choice. So only a few people can do that. The warrior inside can do it. The warrior needs to come outside from the inside out. So it can handle that. Bring on humiliation. Bring on the fucking criticism. Bring it. Because this is a time when we don't have time to put up with that shit. We got some real heavy things coming. And if this perpetuation of negativity continues to exist, we're going to fucking implode. This AI system is short years away from turning human beings or mankind into its uplink. Now we got Neuralink from Elon Musk that's getting connected. That means that our neurology would be connected to a system that's easy for this mind virus to access and manage from its position. So we have all these separate things that look all separate, but they're all interconnected. We got a vaccination that is biotechnology, and no one's even talking about why the vaccination got biotech in it. Why are tech companies making vaccinations for individuals for something that's supposed to be a virus? And for anyone looking up, I would like people to look up for themselves, because we have a contradiction here. Radiation poisoning or radiation sickness is the same symptoms as what is the Rona. I say Rona so that I don't get flagged in any way. So if the Rona virus and radiation sickness are the same symptoms, what are we dealing with? It's these cell towers that are projecting a higher frequency that's causing illness in the cells. Again, living the experience of what this nanobiotech that's in our bodies is doing. No one's bringing up the information on the mainstream because it would go against what they're doing. The system is trying to create a one world organization where it's a one world religion, one world law, one world everything. And this one world is this one organization for this one AI mind virus system. I'm trying to piece together for the words that I put in at the beginning of this video so that they can all start coming together. So this Neuralink from Elon Musk, these cars from Elon Musk that are all connected to this AI system are different levels of the same thing. That this nanobiotech that's in our food, in our water, in our medicine, there's no denying that science is putting this nanobiotech in our food and the nanobiotech in medicine. There's no argument on that, meaning no one's denying that that's happened. People are denying that it's in the air. People are denying as far as words like chemtrails, those are all denials, and they're all debated. They use the word conspiracy when anyone says it's in the air, but there's nobody denying that it's in the food and in our in our medicines, and it's supposed to be there to help assimilate minerals and nutrients and get the medication where it needs to be better. This is an AI direction. It's taking the natural and turning it into a simulation for the artificial, so that our natural biology gets infused with this mind virus nanotechnology, or I should just call it technology. So it's living technology connected now to an artificial, I shouldn't say artificial, to this intelligent machine. So it wants to connect our life force to this intelligent machine, which will connect and keep it generating energy and power for itself. Because once we lose connection to what is the natural, we don't have direction of our mind. We don't have connection to our heart. It will now have connection. This intelligent machine, and I don't say that in a good way. This intelligent machine is this, they call it artificial intelligence, but like I said, it's a real intelligence with the need to keep everything in chaos and to live for itself off of batteries that are our souls. It sees our souls as batteries. So if it sees our souls as batteries, but it needs our souls to run off a negative vibration, then what it does is it breaks down the species to the point that we are in today, our world is in today. This nanobiotechnology runs through the human physical body. This injection that they're trying to force onto the populations is to make a stronger connection for this biotechnology, so that when people start accepting, because the acceptance of allowing these things to happen to us is us breaking down our will, and us breaking down our will is giving our soul over to something that needs it, because it's like a battery. But as long as we stand strong and say, no, I know my self-worth, I know the power of my soul, I know that this AI mind virus system needs to power itself from living soul, then my will says, fuck that shit, no. Just like that, no. And so this is where we're seeing this tug of war happening right now. People are like, yes, some people want the vaccine, and they're lining up and dropping their free will, and they're going to be a part of this assimilated system where they're still going to be walking around like human beings, but the soul and the mind won't be directed from a natural source anymore. It's going to be connected to this AI thought, AI direction, and it becomes decrepit. That's the thing. I'll talk about that in the next episode, of what happens to these decrepit minds and decrepit souls, how they keep becoming more and more decrepit, and what happens to our souls. Where does evil, where do all these other evil souls come from that are called evil beings? You know, we got a lot of I don't want to say stories, but a lot of experiences from ancient times to the present times today, that there's evil beings that people can't see in the shadows, you know, that they know that there's something. People have had crazy experiences, but they just call it like a phenomena or something that's not really happening. Well, what's happening is these souls are in different, filed away in different layers in on top of realities on realities on realities. And we can't see those negative beings. But those negative beings can see us, and they ride inside of human beings. And those leaders who are our mainstream of everything, they willingly accept those beings inside their bodies to manage them. And like I said, AI doesn't give a shit who's doing what, just as long as it's all fucked up. That's all it cares about. So all of these different things are actually happening, and they're all perpetuated to make sure they happen in a bad way, in a negative way. And so these negative beings are filed away souls from past realities. And we have to know what's going on in this reality, so that we don't get filed away by these putrid, negative souls. That's why we had so many teachers come at different times and say, you must clear up within yourself so that you can see clearly outside of yourself. And we have to find balance within ourselves so that we can make choices outside of ourselves that are balanced. Because what this AI system cannot do is live off of balanced energy. And it can't take from the will if one knows that will. You know, if one knows the power of the will, recognizing the soul, the fucking AI can't do shit, not life or death of the individual. Because like I said, with the mindset is in life, physicality, it will also be when the body stops working, the mind is still strong and firm and in the same direction as it was in physicality. So AI needs the will to drop of the individual. It needs broken individuals. It needs to connect physical individuals with this AI biotech because it's biotech, it's its connection. And this vaccination coming, just look it up for yourself. If we are getting injected with biotechnology vaccine from biotech companies, why aren't we questioning? Because that's not medicine anymore, that's technology. We get technology injected into the body. Why? Because it's AI needs to connect the nanotech, the nano biotechnology that's been put in the food system and it's been put in the medicine. They need to make the connection with the main link. There's neural link, there's everything being interconnected, the internet of things. Well, mankind is a power source to that. We gotta say no. We gotta say, fuck no, not happening. But we won't recognize those things until we know the power that we are. The reality that we're in the picture outside of this box. Because if we are in something, then we need to know what we're doing while we're in here. And we need to know that our soul here is our soul outside of here. So if we don't got shit right here, when we're in this physicality, we're not going to know where the fuck we're stepping when we're outside of our body. We got to know. There's a whole lot more information. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask a question. And I'll be very happy to answer. This is Truth and Integrity Warrior, Michelle Angelique. This is the rise of a species, because mankind will rise. We will not stay down. Take care.